If you're someone that works in a job that involves demolishing buildings, or excavating through areas that aren't well known, it's very likely you've discovered some interesting things. Workers have managed to uncover some of these relics and artifacts, and once studied, most of them are eventually identified. However, a construction worker who was working inside an old building made a surprising discovery when knocking down a wall. The person in question was said to be working on an old house, and that there was some structural damage to the house, so they were called in to fix it. When making their way to one room, they noticed there was a cover over the wall, and the worker guessed that something was behind there. After knocking through the wall, they discovered something that would spook many people. Behind the wall was an old-looking Ouija board. However, the worker couldn't figure out why the previous owners would want to seal the board behind the wall. Some have suggested the board in question is quite old, and that it could have been placed here after a session with the board went wrong. Over the last few decades, there have been many stories detailing the board and how things don't always go to plan. This could have been the case for the previous owners, with one person suggesting they may have purchased the board for fun, but it ended up contacting something that caused them to flee the house. The construction worker who discovered the board didn't seem fazed by the stories though, as it was reported that when they discovered the Ouija board they tried to find the planchette. There is of course another explanation for the board being where it was, and that could be the previous owners playing a prank on the next owners of the house. As of today, it's not known why the board was buried inside the wall, and why they had in their possession such an old version of the board. Another theory is that the board was passed down by previous family members, and this generation wasn't aware the board was concealed inside the house. Regardless of the origin, it's certainly an interesting find, and not something you'd expect to come across while working. Ghost spirits, angels, demons and many other such paranormal entities have captivated the minds of humans. For years we have heard stories about these mysterious entities, and a few of us have even experienced them firsthand. Despite all of the advancements made in science and technology, and despite scientists being able to unravel some of the most complex mysteries in the universe, it seems that we have completely skipped over one particular field of study. It's the study of the paranormal. Many ancient civilizations study paranormal activities, ways of interacting with different paranormal entities, and harnessing their power for the greater good. Probably the most famous cursed game in existence is that of the Ouija board. Over the last few decades, it's led to many rumours, stories, movies and even video games that were inspired by a few witness accounts of the game commonly played during sleepovers. The Ouija board is usually nothing more than a piece of wood with markings across it that can be used to spell out any words and easily answer any yes or no questions. The strangeness of the game doesn't come from the board itself, but rather how it's used. Participants of the game must light a few candles and sit in a completely dark room around the board, and all collectively hold what's referred to as a planchette. After someone asks a question to the room, a spirit will begin to move the planchette as everyone remains holding onto it, and work to spell out the answer provided by the spirit. What's interesting about this game is that it's actually commonly used in seances and by psychics who wish to get into contact with spirits. In fact, there's a whole dedicated community online that will help you get the board that will best work for you, as well as provide the rules and etiquette of how to play the game without disturbing any malevolent spirits. The more aggressive part of the game comes from people who refuse to follow the proper rules, and believe the cursed game to be nothing more than rumours and fake stories. The rejection of the rules will lead to a spirit attempting to attach itself onto the participants of the game, and begin to attack or haunt the individual for as long as they wish. Accounts of this occurring have been all too common, and have even led to the exorcisms and ritual cleansings just to get rid of those affected by the spirits that have attached to them. Throughout Arabic folklore is that of terrifying legends and reports of an entity similar to that of the jinn referenced throughout the Quran, but cursed to roam and dwell in locations away from people. This entity is known as the ghoul. The ghoul is that of a shape-shifting demonic entity that's been reported as inhabiting cemeteries, wandering through the desert and taking on the form of animals and loved ones in an attempt to get close to someone before devouring them. Variations of the ghoul legend claim that once a ghoul devours someone, it will begin to take on their form and become stuck in that form until another person is devoured, or an incantation is spoken to allow it to return to its truly demonic form. It's due to this reason why many believe the ghoul inhabits cemeteries, as to allow it to take on the form of recently deceased loved ones, and whoever else it chooses. Interestingly, there's a number of reports and theories all throughout Iran and Afghanistan with people believing that the demonic entities of the jinn and the ghoul roam the lands in an attempt to continue spreading fear. One of the most haunting stories of a haunting coming from a demonic entity is that of the story of the Zozo demon, and the countless number of people it has targeted in the past. According to reports made by people all across the internet, posting on blog forums, Reddit and a number of open forum sites, it became apparent to many that the name of the Zozo demon kept popping up all around the world. The first known popular blog post concerning this demonic entity was written back in 2009, and made by a man named Daryl Evans, of whom referred to the dark entity as the Ouija board demon. He gave the entity this name due to the fact that he first made contact with the Zozo demon when using a Ouija board, and that he became obsessed with it in his spare time. According to Darren, however, these proper rules weren't followed during the summoning of the Zozo demon. After the planchette of the board began spelling out Zozo over again, Darren asked the spirit what its purpose was, to which it replied to bring you and your family paradise. When asked what paradise is, the demon slowly spelled out hell. Shortly after this, Darren wrote that no matter what he did, where he moved or what he tried to do, the spirit tortured him for years after this event, even going as far as causing his 1-year-old daughter to become violently ill. Though many have often claimed that Darren Evans made up the whole event, a whole community has formed around the Zozo demon, as many others have stepped forward claiming they've encountered the demon when playing with the Ouija board, as well as uncovering a number of ancient writings describing a demon referred to as Zozo, responsible for a number of terrorizing incidents in the past. Today there are still reports of people being tormented by the entity all around the world. Another interesting account of a spirit comes from the 17th century. This was when there was a number of executions held at the Greyfriars Kirkyard. This was when the king at the time was attempting to convert many followers of the Christian faith to a newly founded state religion. Without much surprise, this has led to the Greyfriars Kirkyard being referenced by paranormal researchers as one of the most documented and reported haunted locations in the world. Though many hold the belief that the site remains to be at the centre of a number of paranormal entities, many of them being among the 18,000 victims during the 17th century, others claim the main man behind the hauntings to be that of Sir George Mackenzie, the man single-handedly responsible for the suffering of the people during this time. Proof of this claim comes from the fact that the first reported attacks from this paranormal entity came from 1998. Shortly after a homeless man wanting to find shelter during a storm opened the tomb of Sir George Mackenzie. The first incident took place the following day after the tomb was broken into when a passerby attempted to enter the tomb, but was blasted back by a cold force of air that knocked them down. Later that day, another woman was found near the tomb's entrance, passed out and lying across the front of the tomb with her neck completely covered in bruises. When she came back to consciousness shortly after, she told those concerned that she had walked by the tomb and found that she couldn't breathe, slowly losing consciousness shortly after. Since this day back in 1998, there have been more than 500 reported attacks near the tomb and throughout the Greyfriars Kirkyard, with an untold many more left unreported for fear of being ridiculed. So what do you guys make of these mysterious stories detailing evil spirits? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.